Welcome back. On today's episode, we are focusing on a pilot program at the University of Kentucky that is tackling the issue of non-emergency calls bombarding the 911 emergency system in the city of Lexington. Allison Gibson is an assistant professor in the College of Social Work at the University of Kentucky, and Maria Sloan is a graduate student in the community paramedicine team working with the Lexington Fire Department. Thank you both so much for joining us here on the program.
Yeah, thank you.
And Allison, let's talk about this partnership with the university and the Lexington Fire and Police Departments. How did this partnership come together, and what does it actually look like?
Yeah, so it actually came together quite randomly, as many partnerships often do. I was helping out at an event that we have here in the city of Lexington every year called the I Know Expo. It happens typically in April, and it's an opportunity for folks to come in and learn about resources here in the community to help as folks are getting older or if they're caring for an older adult. And I happened to run into one of the 911 operators, Tracy Wells, and we started having just kind of an organic conversation. She mentioned that she did, emergency dispatch, and I expressed that I had worked with that organization when I was a student at Ohio State in Columbus, Ohio, and just mentioned that we had a program where we were offering support to folks calling 911 that may be inappropriate use. And she said, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because we actually are starting that program right here in Lexington as well. And so she kind of linked me in with the folks that were doing the program in town, and it just kind of started very organically. We had the idea that maybe some students could benefit from being placed with the fire department from UK's College of Social Work, and all of it just kind of naturally just kind of came together from there. So we have the students there about 20 hours a week over the course of the academic year. Both students are in their graduate program for social work. Field placement, kind of like an internship, is the signature program in terms of their education. So getting out, getting into the field, getting to practice the skills that they're learning in the classroom, those sorts of things. So we've got them there, and then I kind of come over, at least once a week to kind of check in with folks, do some supervision, conversations, but otherwise we kind of just, as needs happen, we interact with one another, those sorts of things.
And Maria, talk about some of your work over at the Lexington Fire Department. What types of things are you working on or have been working on during your time there?
Well, typically we'll go in and we'll meet together as a group, and we'll talk about the clients that we have for the day that we're going to go out and serve. And we talk about what their needs are, what our community resources are that we're going to need for that individual, and where we are in the process of assisting them. And so we usually will talk through that during the mornings, and then we'll go ahead and divide up our teams, and we'll go out and go out into the community and start working to help those individuals meet their needs if we can. So a lot of what we do is really community resource, getting that together for people, making those contacts, and just serving them the best way that we can to prevent those calls.
And Allison, the Lexington Fire Department says in 2017 they had over 48,000 of these calls into their non-emergency line. So talk about, I guess, some of the solutions that the students are being able to come up with to address this particular issue.
Absolutely. So many, many different types of needs in terms of who might be calling into 911. It could be anything from unfortunately things like drug overdose or like an actual health need. But then there's also things that are like, I am an older person and I maybe am not really safe to go up on a step stool, but I need to have my light bulb changed, and I don't really have anyone else I can call, but the number I know and the folks that I know will respond is 911, which is not really what we want folks to be using 911 for, but unfortunately sometimes that's what they know to use. So that would be a great example of a time when maybe one of our folks might intervene from the community paramedicine team. They might go out, kind of talk with the individual about maybe what all their needs could be beyond just the light bulb getting changed, but maybe some other things they're struggling with around their house. And at that point, the students can kind of make a plan with the individual and think about what services they might be able to link them in with. Just generally kind of talk with them about kind of action steps and what kind of plan to have, and kind of ultimately kind of put in kind of an intervention in that case to kind of help reduce their likelihood of maybe calling 911 again, unless it's really truly an emergency and that those paramedic services are needed at that time. We see things like, somebody's gotten stuck in the tub and they need somebody to help them get out. We see things like individuals that maybe just aren't sure how to get transportation to be able to get around to maybe their doctor's appointments. And so for a lot of folks, they just don't know where else to go to get that information, or they've maybe tried to access that information previously and were not successful. But we all know if we call 911, right, we're going to get a hold of someone and they are going to respond. And so unfortunately, sometimes folks kind of start to use that as kind of the best resource for them if they don't know what else is available to them.
Well, we really appreciate you all joining us to talk about the coursework that is being put together with this particular pilot program, and also, Maria, you sharing your experiences over at the Lexington Fire Department.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Now, we've heard about how non-emergency calls are bombarding the 911 emergency system in the city of Lexington, but what about the rest of the state? The executive director of Kentucky's Board of Emergency Medical Services joins us in the studio next to explain.
And the community paramedics and responders are able to meet with them and talk with them and introduce them to social workers, things like that, that can help prevent that and reduce health care costs.